January 1945. Supreme Allied Commander Dwight D. Eisenhower steps into his office at Versailles to meet Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery. The tension in the room is unmistakable, thick enough to cut with a knife. For months, Montgomery has been pushing boundaries, complaining, criticizing, publicly undermining Eisenhower's strategy. He has claimed credit for American victories. He has lobbied Winston Churchill for overall command. He has treated American generals not as partners, but as incompetent subordinates. And today, Eisenhower has had enough. What happens inside that room will permanently alter the balance of power within the Allied command. It marks the moment when Eisenhower, patient, diplomatic, endlessly accommodating, finally stops being patient. The moment when he makes one thing brutally clear: fall in line, or get out. If you're drawn to the untold confrontations that shaped history, subscribe now, because this clash nearly tore the Allied command apart. To understand why Eisenhower finally snapped, you have to understand how long this had been building. Montgomery had been a problem since North Africa, a brilliant tactician, without question, a careful planner who won battles methodically and minimized casualties. But he was also deeply arrogant, politically tone-deaf, and utterly convinced that he alone should be running the war. After D-Day, Montgomery commanded all Allied ground forces during the initial invasion. But by September 1944, Eisenhower took direct control of ground operations. Montgomery was furious. He believed he alone possessed the military genius to lead the final drive into Germany. From that point on, he became a constant thorn in Eisenhower's side. He attacked Eisenhower's broad front strategy, arguing instead for a single, concentrated thrust into Germany under his command. He lobbied Churchill relentlessly. He held press conferences that subtly undermined American leadership. He treated Bradley and Patton with barely concealed contempt. Then came the Battle of the Bulge in December 1944, when Eisenhower temporarily placed two American armies under Montgomery for operational efficiency. Montgomery saw it as vindication. To him, it proved that American commanders could not handle a crisis without British supervision. On January 7, 1945, Montgomery held his now infamous press conference, where he effectively claimed credit for saving the Americans from disaster. American generals were furious. Omar Bradley threatened to resign rather than serve under Montgomery again. George Patton wanted to challenge him to a duel. The alliance was fracturing, and Eisenhower knew decisive action was unavoidable. The exact date of the confrontation was never recorded, for good reason. What happened in that room was too explosive to put on paper, but multiple sources confirm it occurred in mid-January 1945. Shortly after Montgomery's disastrous press conference, Eisenhower summoned Montgomery to his headquarters for a private meeting. According to the diary of Eisenhower's naval aide, Harry Butcher, Eisenhower prepared by telling his chief of staff, Walter Bedell Smith, "I'm done being diplomatic with Monty. If he can't accept my authority, he can go home." Smith reportedly replied, "About damn time, sir." When Montgomery arrived at Versailles, he expected another strategic discussion, perhaps another chance to argue for his single-thrust plan. Instead, he encountered Eisenhower at his absolute limit. The meeting lasted roughly 30 minutes. No transcript exists, but based on accounts from those briefed immediately afterward, we know how it unfolded. Eisenhower wasted no time. He confronted Montgomery directly about the press conference. "Your remarks have caused serious damage to Allied unity," he said. "American generals are furious. American newspapers are calling for your dismissal, and I'm not sure I disagree." Montgomery tried to explain. He said he'd been praising American troops, that the press had misunderstood his intentions. Eisenhower cut him off. "I don't care about your intentions. I care about results. And the result is that you've made Americans question whether this is a partnership, or whether they're simply providing men and material for British glory." Then, Eisenhower delivered the message Montgomery had long refused to hear. "You seem to believe you should be running this campaign. You've made that clear since September. So let me be equally clear. You're not. I am. And if you can't accept that, I will ask Churchill to relieve you of command." Montgomery attempted to protest, argue the superiority of his strategy. That's when Eisenhower stood up, looking him directly in the eye. He gave him two choices. "You can accept my authority without reservation. Stop lobbying Churchill. Stop criticizing American generals. Stop holding press conferences that undermine Allied unity. Or you can refuse, and I will personally request your removal. Those are your only options." Eisenhower wasn't finished. "The American army is now the dominant force in this theater," he continued. "We are fielding more divisions, providing more equipment, and taking more casualties than Britain. That's not an insult. It's a fact, and it means American concerns carry weight." Then came the most devastating blow. "You are a brilliant tactician. No one disputes that. But you lack political judgment, and in a coalition war, political judgment matters as much as battlefield skill. I've defended you repeatedly. After Patton, after Cannes, after endless complaints. I can't defend you anymore." Montgomery reportedly went pale. He had never been spoken to like this, not by Eisenhower, not by anyone. He tried once more to justify himself. Eisenhower shut him down. This isn't about operational details. This is about whether you understand your place in this alliance. You are not the supreme commander. You are a subordinate commander, a valuable one, but a subordinate nonetheless. If you can't accept that with humility, you're no longer useful to me. Eisenhower then laid out his conditions. Coordinate with Bradley as an equal. Stop lobbying Churchill. Clear all press statements through my headquarters. Conduct yourself in a way that strengthens Allied unity. Agree and we move forward together. Refuse and I call Churchill this afternoon. Montgomery understood the reality. Churchill would not save him. American power was now decisive. I accept your terms, he reportedly said. You have my full cooperation. Eisenhower nodded. Good. Then we understand each other. This meeting is over. After Montgomery left, Eisenhower sat in silence. Then he turned to Bedell Smith. I should have done that 6 months ago. Churchill, when informed, was pragmatic. Eisenhower has asserted his authority, he said. About time. And the aftermath proved it. Montgomery's influence over American forces ended that day, he continued, commanding British and Canadian troops, but American strategy moved forward without him. The shift was subtle, but unmistakable. So why does this matter? Because it reveals a truth about leadership, especially in coalitions. Diplomacy has limits, and when patience becomes weakness, authority must be asserted. In January 1945, behind closed doors in Versailles, Eisenhower stopped being diplomatic and started being dominant, and in doing so he saved the Allied command.